All right, folks, welcome back to the Kings of Opinion, episode 50. It's the big one, and we got a special show for you today. It's all about MLB. We're less than 48 hours away. I couldn't be more excited. We're going to put that on pause for a brief second because I'm going to do my normal Ryan's rant, right? We don't have with us today...
Are you going to introduce me?
No, I'm getting to it. Relax. Like I was going to say...
I'm a guest on this show.
Then, you know what? In a second, you'll be out. All right? Big Ern is on vacation this week, so he's not around. And Wander, he's under the weather, so we hope he feels better. I have a special co-host with me today. He's making his second appearance of the year. It's the big Steve over here, right to my left, with his little polar bear shirt on.
I'm excited to be here, baby. As always, thank you for having me, Pugs.
You're welcome. Now, there's the introduction. You happy?
I'm very happy.
Let me do my
thing.
thing.
Yeah, I thought it would have been like out the gate, you know?
Let me do my thing, all right? I was getting to it. I confused you with MLB. Apparently, I thought MLB special was more important than you. I was mistaken.
Yeah,
so my apologies.
Who else? The big Yankee fan, the big Met fan. Who else you doing an MLB special with? Let's be honest.
Agreed. Anyway, we missed the other guys. Hopefully they get back to us next week. So I want to make this a quick Ryan's rant, and I only found out about it or realized it really today when I was driving. So on these highways, right? And it's got to do with traffic, but I'm not going to talk about the traffic.
You can rant about like the highways.
I hate it, bro.
Yeah, rant about the Van Wyck today, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I don't know if I've talked about it, but the zebra stripes, right? Like, you know how you're getting off an exit and like the zebra, like it's almost like a shoulder, but it's like the zebra stripes.
Yes, like leading up to the green sign on the exit.
Pretty much, yes. Yeah. I mean, and they're all over the place. They're like triangle zebra stripes and all this stuff, right?
Yes.
The thing that annoys me most about this is people use that now as a third or if not fourth lane. And it gets kind of crazy, dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting in the right lane. I'm literally right over here trying to get off the highway.
The Grand Central?
Yeah, on the Grand Central that has the zebra right there. And I'm sitting in traffic. I could have been here like 5-10 minutes earlier, but people are flying on the zebra stripes. So I'm like, what the F is going on, right? And now, you know how right where the Little Neck exit is, there's basically 5 lanes already.
Yes, so because they create that one extra lane that sort of ends.
Yes.
And then you have the actual exit lane, which starts like
pretty much right where the other one ends.
Right where the other one ends.
Correct.
And then you have the other stripes, we'll call them like the side stripes, not the exit stripes, but there's like a shoulder stripes, I would call them.
Yeah, it's the
people
zebras.
use that, and then people also use people ride like along those single dotted lines to get up to the zebra stripes to then cut back over.
Yeah, and that to me is wild. Like, our city has gotten so crazy where people can just do whatever they want in the car.
Yes.
Like, the car is like a modern day missile.
Yes.
Like, that's all it is now. And like, if you're not paying attention completely, your premium on your insurance is gonna go skyrocketing. I'll tell you that much right now, right? Because like, if you're not looking, and even if you like swerve even a little bit, or like let's say you're just veering to the right or left depending on where the stripes are, someone could just be flying down. And that's another thing too. They're flying,
and they are not where they're supposed to be.
Correct.
So you're moving over into whatever lane that you're legally going into, and they're in some totally illegal, made up, unknown place where they're not supposed to be, and you got to be careful for them.
Right.
And then the craziest part about this is that they look at you like you're crazy for fucking cutting them off.
100%, dude.
And they're laying on the horn.
They're laying on the horn. They're giving you the finger.
I take the same exit every day. Trust me, I know. It's a nightmare.
Too. It's such a nightmare. And like, you're right. They look at you like you're crazy. And I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, I know I'm in a lane. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
You know?
Like, I'm doing this legally. You're doing it illegally.
And you know what I would wonder too? Like, if you hit them, like, how would the insurance, at least in our state, fare with both parties? Like, they're obviously not supposed to be doing that. But I've been on the right and wrong side of these things where they're like, oh, it's 50-50. And I'm like, how's it 50-50? I wasn't doing anything illegal. Like, remember that time I got into the accident over here on Little Neck with the Barney?
Yes.
Grand Cherokee?
Yes.
Where the guy went just straight across Stop and Shop to CVS and just didn't abide by any single traffic.
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
And they wanted to tell me, like, it's like 60-40, his fault. I'm like, 60-40?
He cut across 6 lanes of traffic, but then it's 50-50.
2 double yellow lines, like, He didn't go all the way around. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, are you just trying to sucker bet me? Like, these insurance companies, they're bastards too, right? Like, they just wanted to settle it and get the money going and jack your shit up anyway, right? But anyway.
Well, you know what it is? There's no more rules of the road. They used to, like once upon a time, and you would know better than me because you've been driving longer than me, but at the end of the day, there used to be like some sort of unwritten rules of the road, right? Where people have like a little more respect for each other. That's totally gone. In fact, I'll give you a quick one. I'm coming up Union Turnpike,
All right.
past the Shake Shack over there. I'm coming on to New Hyde Park Road, right where the four-way red light is.
Yep.
And I'm crossing over, and there's like a medium, there's like a big island medium on, like, you know, where it merges once you cross over New Hyde Park Road. And some guy in a pickup truck, no matter what I did, he got the idea in his head that he had to get in front of me. So as I'm rolling, he drives on the island in the grass to get over me. Mind you, where I'm doing like 25 miles an hour, he just tops the island and jumps in front of me and takes off, still going down right where it turns there. It's gonna,
right where you go to the hillside.
Right, exactly.
Right.
It's like there's no more respect on the road, and you really got to be careful nowadays.
Yes, you do.
You really gotta be careful.
You don't even know if the person that's driving the other car has any kind of insurance or a license,
or if there's a real plate on that car.
Right. Then you're really screwed.
Gone are the days of taking out someone's license plate because they may not have a plate. It may be covered,
maybe a fake,
or it may be a fake, and it could be paper. And all of a sudden, now you're the one left holding the bag. Who's paying for all that?
100,000%. And people don't get that. I guess either that or they just don't care. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's like, I don't want it to be complete anarchy, but at what point do we become those people that like throw the paper plate on the car and just start running amok on the street like it's something out of Mad Max?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, at what point does it come to that? Because I'm ready to do that at this point.
Right.
Because no one's respecting me, and I have everything on my car is totally legal. Like, you could read my license plate. I have no tints. Like, if you want to see me, I'll pull over. Nothing.
Right.
Like, I may have to start tinting my car out, throwing a fake plate on there, and just running amok like everyone else.
If you do, definitely buy a different car. Like, get more of like
I need like
a dump truck.
I need a beat up.
Yeah, like, get like a Ford Bronco, like a beat up one that barely works. Just drive around with a fake plate and just start bashing
like
people.
Black smoke coming out the back.
Yeah, barely turns on.
People coughing as I drive by.
You have to put it in neutral, roll it, and then turn it on.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And then just start driving around the city and be like, almost like the Punisher of like, driving. You know what I mean? Just take people out. Like, oh, that guy was on the zebra stripes. Wham! And knock him into a tree.
Knock him into a tree and then peel off.
Yeah, that's it. Crazy. Wow.
Insane.
We're causing a lot of crime already today on this show. This is great. So
don't get any ideas out there, folks.
Right. This is all fun and games. This is just a rant. Don't take it too seriously. We're just blowing off some steam here. So now let's go right. Let's roll right in to MLB season. Like I said, it's pretty much less than 48 hours away. Let's talk about this Ohtani thing real quick, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know if we touched on it last week too much because I think it just had came out. So apparently, Ohtani was supposedly his interpreter was caught up gambling with a bookie in California. Now, as we know, California's not New York. Gambling is completely illegal over there. So technically, it's a crime to be gambling with a bookie, but I'm sure it's not really enforced. The big picture here is the interpreter ran up so much debt that he either borrowed, stole, who knows, $4.5 million from Ohtani. Mm-hmm. I guess he eventually found out about it, and since then has worked with the IRS and MLB and the Dodgers to do anything he can to figure out what his interpreter was up to, who was also his, I guess, best friend for many, many years. Right. And supposedly, I don't remember what college he said he went to, but apparently that's a lie. Like, there's just a lot of this stuff coming up.
There is a lot to unpack here. And I'm going to start by saying that, like, I think that MLB is to blame partly because of this. Because, let's face it, like, yeah, he knows Ohtani, he's his best friend, but he was really never vetted by Major League Baseball. And good luck trying to just walk in and get a job with MLB. Like, if you and I showed up tomorrow to MLB, right, and we're like, oh yeah, like, I'm here to work, they would be like, okay, like, who are you? They'd probably kick us out, right? He has this resume where apparently, from what I know, he had like a little very short spring training stint with the Yankees, which I don't know if that's true or false. Then the Red Sox came out. Well, he claimed he worked with the Red Sox. They came out and like adamantly denied him ever having any association with them. Which right off the bat, you have like these two big city or big market teams, and they're all of a sudden like displacing themselves from anything to do with this guy, which I thought was interesting. And then he goes on to be...
And the Yankees made no comment, correct? Because I didn't see anything from the Yankees.
I didn't see anything from the Yankees, but the Red Sox came out immediately and they were like, hey, we don't know who this guy is. He never had any affiliation or association with us. Like, they just wrote him off completely out the gate.
Agreed.
And then the other thing was, now he's working with Ohtani, and But like, how does Ohtani just vouch for him at that point? Like how? But like my question is, how does he just become his interpreter? Does he just like Ohtani say like, this is my guy, he's working with me, and MLB just accepts it? Like, who's paying him? Is it Ohtani? Is it MLB? Like, whose payroll is he on?
Okay, so from what I understand,
or the Dodgers picking up the tab, the Angels prior to?
The Dodgers pay him. Ohtani, if this is all true, it was his best friend. Like, it's almost like me being a superstar, and I'm like, yeah, this guy's my English interpreter. Me no speaking English, whatever. And you're my English interpreter, right? And you're my boy. You know what I mean? Almost like, you know, like you see like the football players or basketball players have like the posses and all that.
Yes, exactly.
You know, like their group. Same. I think it's the same kind of principle,
but this
just
guy has,
on a smaller scale.
But this guy is carte blanche. Like, he's in the dugout.
Yeah.
He's going to all these events with Ohtani. It's like he's running amok.
But that's the cool thing about being somebody's boy.
That's great, but was he ever vetted by MLB?
Well, that's the better question.
And that's why I preface this whole thing by saying MLB's partly to blame, because did they do their job to vet him?
Probably not.
I mean, can anyone just say, like, if you make it to that level, can you just automatically say, like, oh, this is my boy, he's my interpreter, he has to come with me everywhere I go?
Right. So to loosely answer your question, I would tend to agree with you. If MLB and or the Dodgers mess this up a little bit, like 50% of the way, right? Because, you know, he could be Ohtani's boy, you could be my boy all you want. And I could like scream, hoot and holler, like, listen, especially in Ohtani's situation, he's the face of baseball, which I don't think he will be for much longer if they do the right thing. But we'll get on that.
We'll get into that in a second. Yeah.
But if he says, I'm not signing with the Dodgers unless you take my baggage with me, which is interpreter or whatever he's got going on in his life, whatever, and the Dodgers will say, yeah. Now at that point, like, if you're a good business person or a good franchise, which the Dodgers are, right? They're big time. They're big time. They're LA.
They're we're going to get to our predictions in a minute, but like, there are two powerhouses in MLB baseball this season, in my opinion at least. They're the Braves and the Dodgers, both coming out of the National League, by the way. And
all right, like I said, we'll talk about this in a minute.
But like, yeah, you would hope that like this powerhouse of a team would be doing their due diligence, especially when MLB baseball isn't.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, one of them has to do it. And now, I'll be honest with you, in my opinion, it would fall on the Dodgers because you're the ones that ultimately paying for these guys, right? And, like, we're unsure if the interpreter is getting paid by MLB or the Dodgers. I still would see it fall on the Dodgers because if you're signing a guy that needs an interpreter, why would MLB pay for it?
Right.
That's like, you know, I want a bagel with cream cheese. You're paying for it.
A bagel with a schmear every time before every game.
Right, like you're paying for me. That's just that's what we worked out.
Right, exactly.
You know, you're the owner. You got to pay that. Not MLB like, yo, listen, this guy wants a sandwich every day. Can you throw him a couple bucks for a sandwich? Like, no, MLB's not doing that. MLB's paying for other things. So it's really, as we talk this out, it's probably all on the Dodgers.
So now, even if it is on the Dodgers, right? You have this guy, and he's got this little bit of an air of mystery about him now because all these other franchises. Well, the Yankees didn't really have a comment because this stint was so short. It's almost like, why would they comment? So I don't blame them for commenting or not commenting.
Yeah.
But the Red Sox were immediately very quick to like disown him and get rid of any sort of like connection to the Red Sox with him. And
That's a smart move.
So my next question is, okay, he does play in LA. Well, Anaheim, the Los Angeles, whatever you want to call it, California. Do we know where these bets were actually placed? Because the only thing I could think of, and this is again the flip side of the coin, in Ohtani's favor, is maybe he did do all this stuff in a state where you're allowed to do it. Like, did he gamble in New Jersey? Did he gamble in New York when it became legal?
We don't know. When he's flying around.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know.
Well, let me ask you this question before we answer that.
Incurred all this debt, and then the second part, which I'm going to give you the floor in a second, is. Was it his interpreter actually just gambling and?
Well, that's what I was going to tell you.
Right. So
let's do this because a lot of the people are like guilty until proven.
Well, your producer is one of them.
Right.
I don't know where he is today, but he's he's MIA for the baseball special. But your producer, who I would love to come answer special because he's ready to he
doesn't watch these, right?
Well, I don't care. I mean, he should watch this. I'm going to let him know he should watch this because some people, not just him but others, are ready to are ready to convict him. And listen, in this country, it's innocent until proven guilty. We get it.
Yeah.
But the big thing about this, and again, I know I saw I was going to give you the floor, but just give me one more second because I'm going to throw a third thing at you, is the whole Pete Rose thing and where he fits into it. But let's cross that bridge in a second. Go ahead. I'm going to give you the floor for your comment.
All right. So all right.
And this is about the whole out-of-state gambling and whether or not he paid the debt for his interpreter. Those are my first two questions.
All right,
just
so
to bring it back.
For your first question, right? I don't care where he's gambling. MLB has a rule where
who's gambling?
Ohtani.
Let's say we're assuming it's
and
Ohtani.
now, even before we get to these, the story's all over the place every time he tells it.
It is. And the fact that it's been redacted and changed.
To me, he should be guilty until proven innocent at this point because there's just a lot of weird stuff. He didn't take any questions yesterday. I watched the press conference, and to me, it was a little annoying, and I watched all 11 and a half minutes of it, and he just comes off really bad, even though he's blaming everything on the interpreter, and he didn't know the money was gone, and when he did the right things.
I did not know this.
Right,
$4.5 million. I know this guy's making money hand over fist, but
it's like us losing $400. So you'd be like, fuck. I'd still want to know.
But you would know about it, right?
You'd know where you spent it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Then again, I guess when you're that rich, maybe those things can happen. And the people on the radio were saying, he has people that pays his bills for him. Most athletes do because they just can't be. I guess they can't be bothered.
Does he have someone that chooses food for him as well?
Yeah, we don't even know. He probably could have, but to me, $4.5 million doesn't go missing, so that's a little weird to me. Even if you want to say, okay, he has guys running his money, then whoever's running his money should be fired. How did that money go missing?
Exactly.
How did that guy? And how do you even let even if he's his best friend, if I was rich tomorrow, I win Powerball tonight. You're not getting my account. Not even if I had a wife, girlfriend, a living partner, whatever, you're not getting my account information.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, I get the financial advisor would have it because he's got to pay bills, but, this is how sometimes a lot of rich people, go broke, because people pull a scam and take all your money and you never see them again. And they got to really be trusted. So I'm assuming he's got a trustworthy financial advisor or, for lack of a better word, whoever's handling his money. But how does $4.5 million go missing? That's one. Two, the story is all over the place. Makes me think he has some kind of involvement. And then when you watch his interview yesterday, what worries me is not answering any questions. Because listen, if you were totally innocent, you'd answer questions all day long.
Right.
You'd have nothing to hide.
Right.
Ask me anything. I'm an open book.
My thought process is, again, there is more to the story here. And again, I do want to move to the whole Pete Rose thing in a second, but
yeah, I'll answer that in a minute.
But I'll say that he doesn't. I mean, he had to do the press conference just to save face at this point because there are so many questions without answers.
Oh yeah.
So he has to almost go in front of the media and put out something to sort of save face.
Of course.
But at the same time, it's maybe he doesn't want to take questions because he knows anything that he says can and will be used against him if this does develop into something more.
It's gonna go crazy
down the line.
Yeah.
And then the big thing for me also is and again, MLB for me is it's always got some drama going on. And I'm just glad this time it's not the Mets. Because could you imagine if the Mets signed Ohtani and all of a sudden all this was going on? And they were in the sweepstakes for him too. They were front and center. I know the Yankees were in on them too. Could you just imagine if this was your MLB market team? Let LA deal with this. I'm almost glad they have this distraction because again, we'll talk about it later, but they are supposed to be, at least on paper, the perennial powerhouse alongside the Braves this year. And it's how is this going to impact the clubhouse? This is going to be a dark cloud that follows them all season.
All right, we're not following the Dodgers now, right? Cut it out.
I'm just saying.
Cut it out. I got a question for you.
Okay.
Did you hear, and we don't know if this is true or false yet, but if it winds up being true, I'm going to go bananas because I sat through this press conference. Someone was saying on social media that Ohtani has known how to speak English this entire time. And he only used the interpreter because it was his best friend, he's hooking him up, and it was a way for him to disconnect where he could use it almost I don't,
When he did the press conference, did he do it in English? Or did he have an interpreter there?
He had an interpreter there.
Have you ever heard him speak English?
No, but he himself actually on the interview says he understands English a little bit to know what was happening in this situation, whatever. So now little pieces are coming out. So if you understand English, he's been in this country 6 years-ish around, right?
I'm not gonna dive too far into that.
I need something.
Well, no, I'm gonna give you an answer. I'm gonna answer the question, but I'm not gonna be like Otani and not take questions. But I'm gonna answer the question, and I'm gonna say that like I don't know because I follow boxing deeply, as you know, and there is one of my favorite boxers, Canelo Alvarez. He's from Mexico, and he's learned English over the years, but he's also so when he's doing an in-the-ring interview, he'll do like a little English, he'll have the interpreter there, he'll answer in English. But for something this serious, when you're like this deep into things, it probably behooves him at the end of the day to have his interpreter there so that there's nothing like misconstrued or
right.
It's like when you're arguing with someone via text. You'd always rather do it in person or on the phone because it's like, oh yeah, you can hear the person's voice and it's a lot more clear to you. Same thing with him. It's like, yeah, he probably knows English to a degree, but he wanted the interpreter there because he doesn't want anything to be like misconstrued and like, oh my God, he said this. And the media nowadays will run wild with anything.
I kind of want them to right now. I want them to bury him.
Right. Well, you're like your producer. He's another one that wants this guy to be hung in the gallows somewhere. It's like, I'm still waiting patiently because at the end of the day, the story is muddy. And there needs to be more, and I need to, and again, more will come out.
But will you find out more? MLB's trying to it seems like the way MLB's playing this is like, let the IRS and whoever else is investigating. They're taking a step back.
MLB is like MLB is at that point, and I touched upon this earlier, where it's like they don't know if they can afford another scandal. Like, let's be honest. Like, MLB has always had a drug problem. When it was amphetamines back in like the late 60s, early 70s, the steroid problem into the late 80s, 90s, into 2000. Like, they've always had something going on, and now it's like this sort of brings up, I'm not going to call it the ghost of Pete Rose because he's very much alive and well,
right.
But this brings up the whole Pete Rose thing, and it's like gambling on baseball.
But this is great for him. This is great
for Pete Rose, but at the end of the day, I've been on the record as saying Pete Rose deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
100%.
100%. Like,
he's the all-time hits leader.
You have guys like David Ortiz, right? That he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no.
And he's a steroid user,
100%.
Behind the scenes, never
100%.
convicted, but like still in there.
He just wasn't ratted out like A-Rod.
Exactly. These other guys got timed out, but yet he's on all these reports with his name. So it's like, where do we sort of throw this in the mix? It's like Pete Rose, and again, what he did, I don't condone it. Like, he did bet on himself, and he could have manipulated stats, whatever the case may be, but he was still the all-time hits leader.
100%.
And I love the fact about Pete Rose, and I'm glad we brought this up, that he wears the all-white with the flat brim Cincinnati fitted. Like, every time you see this guy, he's got the all-white Cincinnati hat with the flat brim. It's like, yo, who is this guy?
Dude, that was the best TikTok video I think I've ever seen.
But he always wears that hat. He wears that hat a lot.
Yep.
He loves wearing that hat.
It makes me like him even more. Like, I want him in the Hall of Fame even more. Like, within a week of this all coming out, he's like, if I had an interpreter, I would have got away with everything too. Yeah. Like, the balls on this guy makes me love him even more.
And he's another one that's like, in my opinion, like getting ready to sort of, hang Otani from the gallows and whatever the case may be. But again, at the end of the day... But you
understand why, though, right?
Well, I understand
as long as all this stuff comes out, and if Otani bet on baseball and, they find... even if he didn't change the stats, he was just like, yo, I'm betting on baseball games or whatever. It's, extremely prohibited. It's in the rules. You can't bet on baseball. If he wind up doing that and uses his best friend and, listen... You could have this job. You make $400,000 a year, which I think that's what they said the guy was making. Do whatever you want, whatever. You're gonna be my interpreter. You'll go everywhere, like you said, parties, this, that, all this good stuff. But if anyone catches me gambling, you're taking the fall. And he's like, who wouldn't sign up for that if you got nothing going on, right? He doesn't have a job, you know what I mean? And he's been riding this out for years now. You know what I'm saying?
I agree 100%.
So for Otani, it's a win-win, and for him, it's almost like a win-loss. Hopefully it never comes out, and if you make it 15, 20 years and nothing happens and you retire and you're good, you got a pension, you got this, you got all this money, you have all these experiences, it's almost like, how do you not make that deal?
All right, let me throw two quick questions at you about this whole situation. One, how do you see this ultimately playing out for Otani? And two, how do you ultimately see this affecting the Dodgers series? Is it, the Dodgers season? Is this something that they... have a black cloud over them all season, or is it something that they rally around and go on a little bit of a tear?
It's going to be a little bit. Well, listen, they're too good to like for them to like totally like tank the season.
They're good until the playoffs come.
Right,
Like,
100%.
they're good enough to
They're
get
the
into
National League's
playoffs.
version of the Yankees
Yes.
last few years, so it is what it is. But
I'm still waiting for that Yankees-Dodgers World Series, but
I don't know if we're ever gonna get it, but whatever. You know, you would have thought it would have been this year, but that's a story for another day.
Well, we're going into that a little later.
Yeah. So, but to me, like, I think it'll be more of a distraction because how much of a presence Ohtani will probably have in that locker room, and like you said, he's the number one guy in baseball. You know, I mean,
He's not only the face of your franchise,
he's the face of
number
baseball.
one person in all of baseball.
Right, which is also why MLB is like taking a step back. But like, if they had any balls, like listen, Ohtani, it was almost like Mike Trout, right? Mike Trout was the face of baseball for 3 or 4 years, then he started getting hurt every year. Then it was somebody else for a little bit. I forget who it was, and then it might have been Judge after that.
Yeah.
And Ohtani, like, and they're going back and forth. Like Judge, I'll be honest with you, not last year, but the year before. Judge was the face of baseball. He broke the home run record. It wasn't Ohtani. Ohtani was hurt most of the year. You know, the only thing Ohtani has is a dual player, right? He can pitch and he can hit, right? So that does a lot. And he's Japanese, so you get the international market and all that stuff, right? And I get that. But maybe MLB has to grow a pair, put their foot down. And if Ohtani did something wrong, and they should actually come out and say, we're investigating it along with such and such departments and do the right thing because like you said, they've had so many of these things and they push it under the rug and they half investigate it like the steroids. Okay, these guys, we don't like these guys. These guys are doing steroids. And then, you know, these guys are on the list too, but you know, don't worry about these guys. They're good guys. You know, here you go. Mm-hmm. You know, like all the favoritism, all that stuff, just drop the hammer. Like if he's not guilty and it is what it is with his interpreter and he did it all and he was a victim and the guy actually stole his money, then so be it. Then back him by all means. But if he did something wrong, you had no problem bashing Pete Rose. And I get it. It might have been different. We don't know the whole story of Ohtani. But if it's similar to Pete Rose, you should give him a penalty, depending on how bad it is, like Pete Rose. Like if it was gambling on baseball and there's like maybe it was like other teams in baseball, then suspend him for a year. You know what I mean? Like let's say he was betting on the Yankees versus the, Orioles. He wouldn't really... Well, I mean, he could find out if things were happening, but if he was just making bets and like you could go, listen, everything's recorded, everything's filmed, everything's this and that and the other thing. We all know that.
Right.
It's all over the world now. So if you could go through his records and see like, oh, he was calling the Yankees or he was calling the Orioles, like as a hypothetical and finding out like injuries that aren't really out there and then he used that to gamble, then he's pretty much doing exactly what Pete Rose is doing, just tweaking it a little bit.
Or this guy stayed out late the night before,
right,
and whatever.
Right.
But like where, like again, and it brings me back to my original point, and we're gonna move on shortly. But where did he gamble? How did he gamble? Was it like an illegal gambling bookie? Did he do it at Caesar's Palace? Did he do it at MGM?
We don't know.
We don't know. So all this has to come out because again, if he was in Vegas and he sat down with the interpreter and he was like, "Yo, let's go bet." Like, is he doing anything wrong?
Like, what is he betting on, though? What is he betting on?
Is he betting on college basketball?
That's fine.
We don't know.
That's fine.
We don't know.
He could do that, though.
Right, but we don't know.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm not ready. And again, this is the difference between me and, like, your producer and Pete Rose and everyone else. It's like, I'm not ready to hang him from the gallows just yet because there's a lot of questions without any answers.
Oh, my God. No one's really hanging him from the gallows yet.
Some people are, and I've already touched upon who they are. I'm not going to mention
all right.
They're not even here today.
Enough of you. They can fend for themselves. I don't care. Whatever. Anyway. So let's get to it now. We wanted to talk. Okay, so first off, I mean, I feel like I should get a feather. I called the JD Martinez move. And days after, I don't even think it was 2 days after.
It was shortly thereafter.
Right. Thank you. Like, he was a Met.
Yes.
And I've been saying it for weeks. What were they waiting on?
Yeah.
And I want your take, but I think my take is they were just waiting for his price to come down. That was really ultimately all it was.
Yes. So
for at least the last month. I'm not going to say back like in November they were waiting. Like maybe they had no interest in November. Maybe at that point they were like, it's a rebuild, whatever. But sometime in the last month, I can guarantee you they were just waiting for that price to dip and really stick it to Scott Boras, which I'm a big fan of.
So
that's a feather for the Mets, by the way. I'll just give you that. You can take that for them.
Thank you. So my thing with JD Martinez is like I do give you all due credit on that. I think you were the pioneer for that. You were leading that charge. You were saying that if they get him, that's just another arsenal in their lineup. And I do believe that he will benefit that lineup tremendously. Like, he is going to have an impact. The age, it worries me a little bit, but you also need that veteran presence in the clubhouse. And he hasn't been a guy that you look at and you say, oh my God, this guy's lost a step, or he should.
Well, he's a bona fide DH now. He's like Edgar Martinez.
He's just what you need. You need that extra protection for the polar bear. And again, if you're serious about this season, and there is this sort of like growing optimism about the Mets that I've seen in recent days, I think that the next thing, and I hope you can sort of wish this into existence as well, is the Mets go out and they get Jordan Montgomery. Because I think from what I can see, he's the market is still open for him, but the Yankees and Mets are both kind of looking at him a little bit, and they're both sort of it's very much touch and go with him. I think if the Mets could sign him, just because I'm a little worried about the Senga thing. I know that he's supposed to be coming back sooner.
He's already throwing.
Right, but he's not going to be there right away.
Okay.
So I'm looking, and a wise man once told me, you can never have too much pitching. So
true.
One of these guys,
he's spot on.
Right. Well, one of these
spot
guys.
on.
So my point being is, one of these guys could eventually wind up going down, and we don't know if listen, if Senga's injury winds up getting re-aggravated or whatever the case may be. You need that extra bolster, and if you're the Mets, in my opinion, if you just went out and signed J.D. Martinez, why wouldn't you just sign Montgomery too? It's because it's almost like they're like dipping their toe in the water, but they don't want to get in.
Right.
It's like, just get all in already and sign the guy and make a push. Give the fans something they want to see. Because again, my whole big thing was, have this lingering thought about what Scherzer said about how they're just going to sort of be rebuilding in the farm and whatever he's doing. And I've been pushing that a long time. The Martinez move shows me that they're semi to very, well, not very serious, but semi-serious to serious.
Well, you were spot on. They got their toe in the water. That's about it. Maybe the foot.
Right. So I'm tired of the foot just being in the water or the toe. I want, like, submerge yourself in the water. Like, dive in, do the cold plunge.
Right.
Get in already.
Just don't drown.
And just don't drown. And get Montgomery on board. Like, sign him already.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's more of a Mets power move to grab Montgomery. Now listen, Montgomery isn't the best pitcher in the world. Like, you're not getting a Verlander. I'm not even talking about that other bum Scherzer. He's a bum. So anyway, I'm not gonna. And I don't even know why his comments bother you so much. Like, this is all strictly like he's like almost irrelevant right now. But anyway, I'm not going into that whole. Don't even speak about it. We'll talk about Montgomery.
I'll do 15 minutes on that right now.
Montgomery would be another perfect fit for the Mets. And I've also been saying, even when Snell was not like scooped up by the Giants, right? Like, I guess it was last week or the week before.
Yeah.
Both
would
of those
have been a
guys,
nice fit too.
Both of those guys would have been nice fits, and I talked about it a few weeks ago, only because like the Mets, like, basically have no pitching. They have Senga, but he's out right now. Like you said, like you can't bank on him coming back like at the very beginning of the season.
Quintana will miss the entire season.
Right. Quintana's making his first real Mets like full season like go at it.
And
then I don't know the other three guys. Like, you'd have to tell me those other three guys, but even still, like, they're so low on pitching. And to me, it's like, okay, Montgomery wants 5 years, maybe like whatever, like let's say 180 or 160 million dollars, or whatever his number is, right? He's not signed, right? So right now, Scott Boras has taken a bunch of L's this offseason with a lot of his guys. And Montgomery's going to be another one. Like, that price has to come down. So, like, if they do what they did with J.D. Martinez, the only difference with J.D. Martinez as opposed to Montgomery is you could have signed him tomorrow and he'd be playing on Thursday with the Mets. Because as a hitter, and as purely as a DH, you just got to make sure you're in shape. You don't have to be at spring training to do that. And you just got to keep hitting the cage. Once you do that, it might take you a couple games to get into, like, game form, but then you're good.
Right.
A pitcher, though, he needs to be pitching for like a good 4 to 6 weeks before you can make him a start. So you're losing. If you signed him tomorrow, Montgomery's not going to be ready until probably like the very beginning, if not middle of May.
That's what I'm saying. Like, isn't it weird that he hasn't? And he was a good pitcher last year. Let's face it, he was good. Isn't it weird that he hasn't been signed? Exactly. And he'll eat up the innings too.
Yes. And
not many guys go like five. Most guys go 5 innings now. Rarely do they go past that.
And sometimes he has trouble with length, but the thing is he makes all his starts. He makes the 30 starts a year,
stays healthy.
which is what you like, right? Are there days that he doesn't have it and he struggles through 4 innings and just gives you 4, maybe 5, but gives up like 4 or 5 runs? Because I watched him. I know what kind of pitcher he is. He's not the best, but he's not the worst. He's reliable, which is what the Mets should want with Senga being out. And another thing is if you're telling me, we're not all in it to win it this year, but next year, that's all well and good. As a Yankee fan, I don't approve of that because we're in it to win every year. But as a Met fan that just came off a really crappy season and like you're shifting gears and you want to go younger and do whatever you want to do and you want to make 2025 a priority, why wouldn't Montgomery or Snell be in that plan? They're pitchers that are good and you're not signing them to a 1-year contract. You're going to sign them for at least a 3-year contract, which means that could be a reliable starter for you for the next 3 years for your playoff push and your World Series push. That's what doesn't make any sense to me.
The only thing
pitchers are more important lengthwise, as long as they don't get hurt. Now you're telling me you're getting a guy that constantly gets hurt, like a Rodon, you give him a 6-year, $160 million deal, whatever. But you got a guy in Montgomery that's a World Series champion. He's proven in the playoffs, pitched in New York, St. Louis, and Texas under some big spots. And you could bring him to Queens, because I know he won't come to the Yankees. They've been saying that for a while. It doesn't seem like he wants to come back because he's butt hurt over I was traded, whatever. Like, get over it, bro. Like, people get traded all the time, whatever. Anyway, but go ahead.
So what I was going to say about Montgomery is, again, I want to sign him. I would love the Mets to sign him. The only thing that bothers me a little about him is like, why is it that no one has signed him yet? Like all the things you mentioned. He's pitched for the Yankees. He's pitched for St. Louis. He's pitched for Texas. But yet, it seems to me like all these teams, or not all these teams, but why is he still on the market?
The money, the contract hasn't dropped. Apparently, JD's contract dropped, and kudos to the Mets and to Boris. It hasn't been at least leaked yet where he was looking for shits and giggles, a 2-year deal for $30 million, and no one was budging. So they waited. All of a sudden, who's the GM for the Mets? Stern? David Stern?
Stern's now, yeah.
Yeah. He gave him a call, like, what about a 1-year, $12 million deal? And then Boris went back to JD, like, this is what we got.
But why not sign him for a couple of years? Because like you said, he's
old. Like I said, what the Mets are doing, I agree with. Sign him for a 1-year deal. If he works out here this year, you could always sign another 1-year deal, the next year. And I'm sure that was discussed. Like, listen, we're not in it to win it right now. Like, we would like you to come help us. Maybe if we can make the playoffs, we can make some magic, and then we could see about next year. But we're only offering you a 1-year, $12 million deal. Take it or leave it. And obviously, Scott Boras looked at his desk. He had no other envelopes or contracts in front of the guy. You're like, what do you want to do? And Jay's like, let's go to Queens, buddy. And that's it.
Well, he came out and said that he didn't want to go to Frisco because Frisco made a little push for him. He didn't want to go there because he felt like the ballpark didn't really suit him. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, well, their ballpark's big. I didn't see that, but I would agree
with him. He
came
out and said that he didn't think he would do well out there, which is one of the big reasons why he wound up signing in Queens. Let me throw something at you real quick. I really want to get your hot take on this because I read this today, and I can almost see this happening if the season doesn't shape up to what it's supposed to be, or at least them being on track to make the playoffs. And this is the Mets. So ESPN,
Andy Pennant in Game 5 of the 1996 World Series. But go ahead.
So ESPN came out today, and I swear I can almost see this happening. They came out and they said if the Mets aren't competitive and if the wheels come completely off,
like they're terrible,
like before the All-Star game, and they're just like crashing and burning, which I hope they don't, but let's just assume they do for a second for this hypothetical. They said that the ESPN came out today and they could see the Mets trading Alonso to a team like the Mariners, who apparently have a very rich farm system, for some great players in return, and then re-signing Alonso come next season. Your hot take on that right now?
Okay, so they basically be pulling a Yankees move, what they did with Aroldis Chapman.
What they did with Chapman,
So what they would have to do with Alonso is before they even entertain anything.
And let me just preface, and let me also preface before you answer, isn't it weird that they haven't offered him a big deal yet?
Are you asking me that?
Well, I'm saying, because that's sort of the question I might have, because, why wouldn't you want to sign this guy? He's a Met. He is a farm-raised Met. He wants to be a Met. You haven't given him a deal. Are they using him as this insurance policy where they're like, okay, if the wheels totally come off on this season, we're going to trade him, blah, 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 get some big prospects in returns to boost the farms. That's what they've been doing, especially last season. And then immediately blank checking him and saying, here you go, bro. Or, it's business.
So, I think you're ultimately right. They're pulling, a fast one just like the Yankees did. But they got to do it the right way. They got to let him know. And this is more coming from Steve Cohen. He needs to sit Alonso down at some point if he hasn't done it already. We're assuming he hasn't done it already. I would assume that even before spring training, they talked to him listen, if you don't want a deal right now, then we're gonna wait till the end of the year and we'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. But if we're as bad as everyone says we're gonna be, right? And this is no knock on anyone on the Mets. There was a bunch of guys last year, just like the Yankees, that had really bad years. I expect most of them, and this is me being, not a Yankees fan. I'm taking the Yankees fandom out of me right now and being as objective as I can. The Mets have a really solid lineup.
They do.
If everyone,
the one bright spot about their team is their lineup.
Right. If everyone can contribute, we just saw last year, the Rangers had a subpar pitching rotation, and they won the World Series. So it can be done. Right. You just need everyone to stay healthy and everyone to at least hit to the back of their baseball cards, which a lot of guys last year didn't do for both New York teams. And I see both New York teams doing the opposite this year, at least some of those guys. So they're not going to be as bad, the Mets, as they were last year. They need to get to that over 85 win area, you know what I mean, where they have a chance to make the playoffs. So and they need to do that. I think the All-Star break this year is the 16th. I could be wrong, but whatever the All-Star break is, they have to have a chunk of wins, or at least be around 500 and close in the wild card hunt right there, for Steve Cohen to say to Stern, do something to get us going. Get me a pitcher, whatever they really need. A bullpen, get bullpen guys, get a starting pitcher. The bats need to pick up right from April. So they need to be hitting the ball all over the place, just like the Yankees do. Both teams need to be offensively scary. If you do that, then all this stuff with Alonso is a dead issue because they're going to try and push the playoffs. Now, if
and then they're going to give him his deal.
To answer, and he's going to get his deal no matter what. It's just whether or not they said to him already or soon. If we don't even have 60 wins by July or August-ish, they should have 60 wins by July, I would think, right? Or close to it. Yeah, if they're not close into it, we're going to trade you to a team that we can require a bunch of good prospects for you. And then I'm personally going to bring you back with whatever you want. Within reason. I was you can't ask for $500 million when you're 31 years old and a 10-year deal. But, I'm going to take care of you on the way back. I don't want to let you go, but I feel next year would be our year if we get these prospects in here and we get some more talent for you. And then I'm going to bring you back.
The guy hits 40 home runs a year.
100%.
I mean, you got to this is a guy that, again, that I've always said, and I'm the biggest Alonso fan here. I got the polar bear.
My question to you is real quick. What are you rooting for this year? Because they could very well trade Alonso
I'm going to be honest.
Could be kind of crazy.
I'm going to be honest. And if anyone watched last week's show, I went on the record and I said, listen, the Mets are going to be bad, this, that, the third. I've totally, over the last week, had sort of this little bit of epiphany. And now that the season's getting closer and I've got this itch and I've seen all this other stuff going on in the media about the Mets, I am going to be the optimistic Met fan this year. There's no reason for me not to be. I was down on them all off season. I said they're not pushing the right buttons. The JD Martinez thing put some wind in my sails. Now I want to see them go out and get Montgomery. If they can go out and get Montgomery, even if they don't, let's just assume they don't get him for whatever reason, I'm still going to be that optimistic Met fan. What I'm rooting for ultimately is that they do have a great season, that these guys that they picked up at the last minute, like an Adrian Hauser that they traded for, they wind up having this sort of decent season where we can propel ourselves into a push come the All-Star game where we're now in a position where we have to make those moves. Let's start signing some guys. Let's make some trades, and let's make a serious push because at the end of the day, there is a lot of parity in baseball. It just so happens that we have the Braves and the Phillies in our division. That's going to be a little bit of an Achilles heel for us, but I'm hoping that the Mets can at least hang in there with them.
Okay,
especially with the lineup.
All right, we talked about the Mets enough. We're going to the other side. We're going to the Bronx.
Let's go to the
now.
Yankees.
All right, because I'm done with this. Like we spent like 20-something minutes on the Mets, the team that's probably not even going to win.
I love
60
it,
games.
baby. Let's go Mets.
Right. Let's hope both teams do good. So, all right. So the Yankees were riding high after the Soto trade. We're 2 days away from the opening opening day. They're going to be playing in Houston. Like, isn't it so fitting how MLB does this? Like, we're opening up on the road, right? In Houston.
Well, the only reason why you're opening on the road is because the Mets are at home.
Right.
Which, by the way, I'm going to the game on Saturday. New York Mets. Cohen, if you're listening, we want tickets, baby. We'll gladly go, and we'll do this podcast right from Citi Field at 1:40 p.m. You heard it here first.
Shea Bridge.
Just make sure you have those egg rolls with the rainbow cookies in the middle.
Oh, yeah,
and we're going to
please.
have my man critique him right here because this is the rainbow cookie master.
The king of rainbow cookies. Just like the kings of opinion. But anyway, so, I don't like the fact that we're starting in Houston as it is. Because
I love it.
Because
I love it for you.
Because
you go out there and you go in attack mode, baby.
Right.
Well,
Well,
attack mode.
I hope they do. Like, I was so optimistic for this season, and then all of a sudden, all these little things start happening.
Like you lost to the Diablos in Mexico.
Right,
Is that one of
like-
the little things that you're talking about?
Like, even
What is
before that, I don't know.
What is that,
I don't
by the
know.
way? You're going down there, Trevor Bauer is
I
pitching
know.
against you guys.
And no one wants to sign this
goes-
guy. And he
I'll
lights
get him
out.
on the Mets. He
Lights out.
pitches like 3 innings against you. And
Lights
he's
out.
winning, and then you wind up incurring injuries while you're down there too,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that's what I was ultimately getting to. Like, I was so optimistic. I was like, the Yankees did a bunch of shit. Like, did I want them to do more? You always want them to do more. Like, you want them to go all the way like the Dodgers did. But obviously, you can see with the Dodgers, like they're feeling their own kind of hurt, and a lot of other teams are too. I'm not gonna lie. Like even the Astros, they lost Verlander for a little while. Like it's going on around everywhere. But I would like to talk another time about these injuries. But just really quickly, like Judge, Cole, that's like our 2 top guys. I mean, knock on wood, Soto's still intact. Like my heart is racing right now. Like then all of a sudden I hear today, and I already knew this like a couple days ago, but now it's more serious. That now probably one of the most important Yankees. And I'm gonna ask you this question. I hope you can kind of answer. I know you're Mets, but you're well versed with the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Like besides Judge, Soto, and Cole, who are all superstars in their own right, could all be faces of baseball, by the way, if Shohei Ohtani winds up having some, let's say, legal issues. But the most important person in my mind now is getting a second MRI on his damn foot. And
Are you talking about DJ LeMahieu?
yeah, it's the La Máquina, DJ LeMahieu. But that guy is like the engine. If Aaron Judge is the transmission and Cole is like the engine oil, whatever you want to, the radiator, whatever you want to call, DJ is the overall engine. It turns that team around. Like
Stand on your brakes.
Right. That's good.
They come and go. It's like
a
you don't
good
know if that car's going to stop because
That's a
this
good
guy's
one.
always hurt.
That's a good one. But he's also important. Like there's so many question
Everyone
marks.
on that team has a role.
There's so many question marks with both teams, but the Yankees more specifically because last year they had all these injuries and it totally derailed their season.
Right.
And we're already seeing it right now, and we didn't even break from spring training yet. And DJ's getting a second MRI on Friday to just make sure his bone bruise is okay. Like, what's with this guy's feet? Like, if I was him, like, after each game, I would be like, yo, trainer, put some bubble wrap on this.
Right.
You know?
Let me get some salt.
Not even, bro. Wrap me up in bubble wrap. Make sure nothing happens to these bad boys. Like, enough, bro. Like, enough with your feet. Like, I don't understand. And obviously, it clearly affects him because last year, it was a tale of 2 DJs. Like, the first half, he was terrible. Second half, he was old DJ. If he's the DJ of old, this Yankee team can win 105 or so games.
I agree.
Because he
they have
just
a nice
turns
little
that.
team. Yeah.
And he extends their lineup. But he's not even going to make it to opening day. Like, at least in Houston. So, because the game's on Thursday. Friday has the MRI. They're playing Houston all weekend. So, to me, with the Yankees immediately is these injuries. Like, we can't even get out of spring training healthy. I don't know what the hell is going to happen this season. Like, I want to be optimistic, but the Yankees get almost hurt more than any other team, it seems like.
I'm almost wondering if your opening rant should have been about Baseball Reference giving the Yankees a 2.7% chance of making the playoffs.
So it's funny you say that. It was going to be that. but then like the ride home inspired the other thing. So, and I
But
don't
like,
get
what are
back to
your
that.
thoughts on that? I mean, is this all coming out of the fact that they're losing to the Diablos Rojas down in Mexico?
Diablo Rojas.
I mean, like, what is going on with that? In what world do the Diablos Rojas beat up on the New York Yankees?
Well, they didn't have all their guys playing. And we all know that day was a split squad day. So guys were split all over the place.
And guys are getting hurt down there on top of
Mexico's good at baseball, bro. It's not new.
Guys are taking foul balls off the face. Come on, what's going on down there? You should have never done that. I don't know why they signed up for doing that. Who even watched those games? Like, what was well, besides you, who else, Mr. Yankee over here, who else sat there and watched those games?
I don't know,
Like, why would they do that? Is that to expand this MLB market?
100%,
Like, the Mets going to England this year, which
Yeah.
I can't stand that. I'm not a fan of that at all, by the way. It's like, just keep it here in the U.S. There's enough viewership. Like, you don't have to go to England. Like, who cares?
And I got news for you. Someone's going to Mexico during the season. I think that's why the Yankees said, we'll do it during spring training. We'll just get it out of the way. There's going to be a bunch of games all over, like, the world this year.
The thing that the MLB needs to focus more on this and what they should, I don't know if they're doing it this
Shohei
season.
Ohtani?
No. What they did, was it last year or the year before, where they played at the Field of Dreams?
Wake up and smell the coffee. They're doing that.
They're doing that again? Well, who's in it this year?
They're not doing it there, but they're doing it at somewhere down south at one of the old Negro League parks.
Okay, fine.
They're doing
but
it somewhere different every
they need to do more
year.
of that because
There's
the
a few of
viewership
them.
for that was awesome.
Look at when you get a chance. Look it up. If you go to because I googled it. When does opening day 2020 MLB 2024 start? They give you a nice little article and they tell you all the fun things that they're doing for the year.
They need to do more of that. In fact, they should have brought back.
They should always do the Field of Dreams.
I mean,
without a doubt.
Like, instead of going to Mexico and playing the Rojas Diablos, they should have done more of this during the regular season.
And the Tijuana Iguanas.
Right, whatever it is down there, bro. I'm serious. Like, keep it homegrown. This is America's pastime.
Panama Wombats.
Panama Wombats, the COVID bat, whatever. Yeah. Listen, we're talking. I'm being honest though, Pooch. Like, why are they doing more of this stuff mid-season?
I don't know.
Like, and keeping it fun for the fans, because even me as a Met fan, I loved watching the Yankees go out there on the Field of Dreams against the White Sox. Old school uniform with the cornfield in the background. Come on.
If the Yankees, and they do, if the Yankees play the White Sox in Chicago that year, because I don't know if they play them like home and away anymore, because now you play every team. Remember it started that last year? So I don't know if they play them both home and away anymore, but if they were going to go this year to Chicago, you shouldn't even be going to Chicago. You should be going to the Field of Dreams. Right. And the Yankees should be always playing the White Sox, if not every year, or every other year, at the Field of Dreams.
We should establish some sort of tradition.
Yes, and if nothing more, that should be for the fans, for like guys like us that saw those movies, or young kids and older adults that saw that movie that can't make it there on any given year. You would have at least multiple chances in your lifetime to get out there for a game. Right. Like, let's say you're right now, you don't have a family, you don't have kids, so maybe you wouldn't want to go right now. But when you do have a family, you're like, I'm gonna take, you're gonna take your son or daughter, you're gonna watch the movie, and then you're gonna go to that game the next year, all the way out as a vacation.
That's a great point, because baseball is very much a generational thing. Like,
correct.
you're kind of grown.
It's America's pastime,
right? Exactly, and you're sort of born into this fanhood, whether you realize it or not. Your mom, your dad, someone puts that cap on your head and says, you're a Met fan like me, or you're a Yankee fan like you, and you sort of grow into it. And that's just what it is. Right. And that's the beauty of the sport. So keep it here. That's my whole thing, is like, you don't have to go international with it. There's enough of that already with the Ohtani thing.
I don't mind the international.
But I do.
Do both. If you want, no, because they're trying to get their playbook from the NFL, because the NFL's trying to do all that. But and the NFL, let's be honest. But they need to. They got to try and keep up with these guys.
What are their numbers like when they go and play in London and the game is here at 6:00 in the morning?
It's still crazy, dude.
Football in London, maybe, but what are the viewership? Is the viewership here still crazy?
Crazy. It's 9 a.m. Everyone's watching it. It's crazy.
That's
why they're doing that. But I digress. Let's move on. Like, we're running out of time here. We wanted to pick like some.
We wanted to pick some
division guys or whatever. So you want to start with the National League first? I'm going to do the NL East last, since they're the hardest division in the National League.
in all of baseball, but it's okay. We can do them last.
No. We'll do them at the very least. We'll do them second to last because the hardest division in baseball is the AL East, and we know that. It's been like that for years. Anyway, so let's.
Don't say that. That's been like that for years. That's been like that for years.
If you take a 20-year window, I guarantee you it'd be the American League East that was stronger more often
last
than not.
4 out of 5 or 4 out of 6 seasons, the National League East has had a
We're not
World
talking.
Series team.
Wait a minute. There's someone that said, I don't remember who it was, that all you got to do is make it to the playoffs because the playoffs are a complete crapshoot. It's who's the hottest.
That has nothing to do with the divisions, though. But
Yes,
it's
it
okay.
does.
Let's get into this. Let's get into
last
the
year. How many NL East teams made it to the playoffs?
2, I think.
Right. How many from the AL East?
Was it 3?
Yes. Thank you very much.
All right, that was last year, folks.
Anyway,
you all have the internet.
We'll do a separate video just for this argument. Anyway, so we'll do this first. Do we not agree that the NL Central and the AL Central are by far the 2 worst divisions?
Yeah, I mean, and these divisions, as I'm looking at the screen right now, they're sort of like, they're like tough to pick, sort of. But I don't know.
That's why we're starting with them. We'll get a little creative. So. These are no particular order because they haven't played yet. But you got the Cubs, Reds, Brewers, Pirates, Cardinals. Who do you like? And then just give me a short little.
I like the Cardinals. Okay. I think they're a good baseball team. I mean I don't really know. Thinking about the NL Central is like I know the Cardinals are going to be good this year. They're going to be like a dark horse team. Like they're one of those teams like you always like to say that could get hot and make a run and all this other stuff, especially in the postseason. So give me the Cardinals in the NL Central.
Okay, I'm going the Cubs. Okay. Cubs are going to be my dark horse of the year. They got a lot of young risers coming up. I'm going to say the Cubs. That's it. Everyone else is bums. Like the Brewers will be in the contention.
They'll be in the mix.
They'll be in the mix all year.
The Reds will win.
The Cardinals
the Reds will make a little noise.
I'll tell you who you could watch out for. Who I was watching the other day and I was impressed by. I don't think they're quite there yet, but like watch out. 2025, 2026 is the Pirates.
Okay.
Like they're going to be feisty in the beginning of the year, I would think, but then they'll fade like by All-Star break, and then they'll be out of it again and whatever. Anyway, so now we go to the American League Central. You got the White Sox, Guardians, Tigers, Royals, Twins. This is another one of those like, okay, whoever has above 500 records is going to win the division.
Right, exactly.
So like it's almost like let me flip a coin, see who's it going to be. I don't know. Like let's just say. I'll just say the Guardians because they've been more consistent.
I'm not going to go against you on that. I think the Guardians are a decent enough club to get into the postseason.
Once again, I will, however, tell you that I was watching.
I do like the Twinkies. A lot of people have been making a little noise about them lately, and they do say that they could be they're not my dark horse pick yet. I'm going to get to my dark horse pick, but they're like my runner-up to the dark horse.
Yeah.
The Twinkies could very well make some noise in the AL Central.
Okay. I like the Tigers.
Whoa.
Yeah. They're not like my dark horse either.
Motown.
But they've been doing a lot of good stuff on the low. I feel like they have half of a good lineup going. They got some decent pitchers and some defense going. They're another team almost like the Pirates, like not just yet, but I could see them getting over the hump real soon.
I think the Twins will have a better record than them. You want to do the first bet right now?
Ooh, the Twins will have a better record than the Tigers?
Yes.
Ooh, I have to sit on that, but... Because now I got to go into it.
All right. But that could be one of our bets. Stay tuned next week for our bets.
Just remember that. Now let's go. We'll go back and forth. NL West.
NL West. All right. So obviously it's for me it's the Dodgers. I think they're gonna be very. I mean, again, assuming that everything works out with Ohtani and they have a full blown lineup, the Dodgers. I mean, it's hard to go against them. But I'm gonna tell you right now, watch out for the Arizona Diamondbacks because they are a dangerous team, and this could be the year where they make the next step. Okay, so
but they're not going to win the division, right? You would need a collapse. You think they're going to come to 100 and something?
Depending on what happens with Ohtani and this whole black cloud thing, like I told you earlier, I'm not going to listen. The Diamondbacks are going to be very good this year. I'll leave it at that.
All right, fine. I can agree with you with that. Yeah, I would tend to agree with you.
And the Giants will be mildly competitive. I think they're going to be somewhat in the mix, but also not like It's going to be Dodgers, Diamondbacks. It's going to be a dogfight between the two.
So you think the Diamondbacks are going to contend?
I think the Diamondbacks are dangerous.
So I think so that's why
I think they're poised to take the next step.
Okay, I'll agree with you with the little carrot that
coming off the World Series and everything like that.
Yeah,
why not?
The Diamondbacks are built more for the playoffs. I see the Dodgers even with a bad. Like a black cloud over the Ohtani thing for a while. Like eventually that's going to fade. And
even if they didn't have the black cloud, you can't see the Diamondbacks like beating the Dodgers
it's baseball.
Like in
yes.
LA.
Yes, I can.
Like during the regular season, I can see that. I can see them beating up on them a little bit.
I think over 162, the Dodgers will have more wins, and I would almost say significantly more wins than the Diamondbacks.
I'm talking about head to head. I'm talking about when those two teams play.
No one cares about head to head because all we care about is what their overall record is.
It's going to matter come postseason because if they're both going to make it, they both could potentially face each other.
But if the Dodgers have 107 wins and have the most wins in all of the National League, they're going to be the top seed. It's not going to matter. What I'm saying is the Diamondbacks will be number one. My pick for number two is definitely the Diamondbacks. I agree with you that they're going to take the next step. The only other thing that they could do by taking the next step is winning the World Series. So to me, that's basically saying like the Diamondbacks are like the World Series champions.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've left the Padres out of this mix, but they haven't really. That division it's competitive, for what it's worth. Like I honestly think that if you throw the Giants in the mix, you're gonna see the Dodgers. They may not be. Listen, I know that on paper they're a powerhouse. There are teams that can beat up on them a little bit. The Diamondbacks being the number one team.
All right, sounds good. Now we go to the AL West. You got the Astros, Angels, Athletics, Mariners,
and Rangers. This is where I'm going to release my dark horse. My dark horse is the Mariners in that division.
Wow.
I don't think that's anyone. I don't think that's a really big surprise, though. I feel like a lot of people think the Mariners are going to be very competitive this year.
Well, they do have the World Series champions in that division, so. You're picking your dark horse to do what in this division exactly?
Give them a problem and make the playoffs.
So I would have to ask you this question: are you saying that this is going to be the toughest division in baseball?
No, it's the NL East, but I'm just saying that the Mariners are my dark horse, and I think they're going to give a problem to the.
But you think three of these teams are going to make the playoffs? Because you have the Astros, Mariners, and Rangers.
Yeah, potentially. I don't think MLB reference is like that. Far-fetched. I honestly don't when they came out and said today that the Yankees may not make the playoffs. The Yankees may not make the playoffs. If those three teams show up and show out, because we haven't gotten to the AL East yet, but
right.
You got to look out for obviously the Rays, the Yankees, the Blue Jays. There's a number of teams you have to look out for. There's a lot of teams that
Orioles.
Can make some Orioles, your dark horse from last year. That's a very tough division.
The toughest division, by the way.
Debatable.
The toughest division, by the way. Anyway.
What are you saying about the AL West?
I don't even concern myself with it, but I will tell you this. The Rangers and Astros the Rangers are the World Series champions, so that's one. Two, the Astros have been in the playoffs every year. So right there, those are the two teams I'm worried about. I appreciate your Mariners as a dark horse, just like my Orioles of last year, so I'll let that ride. The Mariners are very good. They also, like the Diamondbacks, need to take that step. But the difference with the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers and the Mariners with the Rangers and Astros is you have a third team here that you have to worry about. So the Mariners have to do damage against two really good teams. Unless you think one of those two teams is going to take a step back.
Maybe the Astros take a step back this year.
Maybe so. Maybe the Rangers. They just came off a World Series. Now, whatever, no big deal. Maybe they don't do as good because if you saw them 2 years ago, they had 67 wins and 100 or 97 losses, right? Something like that. And then they flipped that and won 30 extra games last year and won a World Series. So it wouldn't be crazy if they took a step back and only won 80, 82, 85 games. Maybe they get injuries, maybe some bad luck. Who knows? You know what I mean? Anyway, that's how I feel about the West. I would ultimately think that the Astros are going to be there at the top. They've been more consistent for a longer period of time. The Mariners are your thing, so I'm going to say after that it's Astros, Rangers, and the Mariners could fight for that second spot, and they'll, because of the extra spot in the playoffs, they could make that playoff push, but they need to do more, in my opinion.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, now we go to the second toughest division in baseball, the NL East. Yes, the NL East. It's the second toughest, because the Nationals, Mets, and Marlins suck on a perennial basis, and you really only have a 2-dog race, which is the Braves and the Phillies. I'll give you the floor.
All right, so I think the Braves are going to probably be most likely at the top of the division. And, that's the optimistic Met fan in me saying that they could take them out. They're not going to. I look for the Mets to try to make a wild card here if possible. But again, you're right. Braves, Phillies will be the big contender this year with the Mets. Like if I'm as optimistic as I am, they could go toe-to-toe with the Phillies, try to take them out. At the end of the day, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a dogfight. But as I sit here today, unless they sign Jordan Montgomery tomorrow, this is my appeal to the Mets. It would have to go Braves, Phillies, Mets, and then whatever bottom feeders are left after that, Marlins, and then Nats.
Yeah, I think the Mets would be nicely slated at number 3. The most exciting thing here for the Mets is if they hit the hell out of the ball, they can make the playoffs. That's what's all important.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the number 1 because we saw it almost like more often than not in the playoffs. It's a crapshoot. The best team in baseball doesn't always win, which is why I love baseball. So you just need a ticket to the dance, and then you could do the old dance.
You got 2 tickets to paradise. What are you going to do with them?
You just do a little this, So, if I was the Mets, I'd be excited. Like, you're playing with house money this year. A lot of people are going to go play and watch them, and they should be exciting, hopefully, like they normally are. I hope they win a bunch of games to make it interesting, and we'll have more to talk about going forward. And then that's it. So now we have the toughest division of baseball.
Why don't you start it all?
My American League East. So, as I was so optimistic weeks ago, I am not as optimistic now about the Yankees. But
because they're losing to the Diablo Rojas down in Mexico.
They're losing to Trevor Bauer, the strangler. He strangled the Yankees over the weekend.
And Robinson Cano.
Right, and Robinson Cano all of a sudden, now he knows how to swing a bat in Mexico. I think he hit a bomb over the weekend.
Yeah,
I saw that. I was watching it. I was like, is that Robinson Cano? I'm like looking at the TV. I'm like, did he just hit that bomb? I'm like, no, get out of here. But anyway, I digress.
How question would you take Trevor Bauer right now on the Yankees?
100%. Strangling and all. Like,
all right, there you go.
I'll give you plenty of those to strangle. Here, have fun. And you should too, by the way. You know what I mean? I don't know why they're blackballing this guy anymore. Like, apparently he was acquitted, like everything was good, so like now what? Like, yeah, maybe he likes, things rough in the bedroom, but like, there are plenty of those people out there. Why are we putting his life on blast? Just go pitch. Poor guy can't get a job now.
Moving on to the AL East.
Let's go. Anyway, I think my dark horse last year with the Orioles, I think they're going to regress a little bit. They're not going to win their 101 games. They could be close. I could see them like low 90s, only because all these teams are going to fight off each other. So I really haven't paid much attention to the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays just...
They could be good. They have a good lineup.
Yeah, they could be good, but that's the same thing every year.
That's the thing.
Every year. That's why I don't worry about them. Every year. Oh, their lineup is going to be great. Oh, their lineup is going to be great. But then their lineup isn't great. Their pitching's okay, and they don't make the playoffs. So, I don't worry about the Blue Jays. They'll probably fall in that number 4 spot somewhere. The Red Sox, probably out of just, not enough talent, will wind up being in that 5th spot. And then you have the Rays, Yankees, and Orioles. I don't remember if the Rays made any really significant moves, but they don't normally have to because, let's face it, they're always there, and they always grab these weird guys from their minors, and they just come up and they're like pitching aces. Right. The one thing I will say is I don't think Wander Franco's around anymore, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's still ducking the feds or something like that. So that's a big blow to them. So if I had to guess, they'd be in 3rd. I'm going to put my fandom back into my body for this, and I'm going to say the Yankees are going to have a fantastic season with adversity, and they're going to be the leaders of the division. Orioles second, and then you're going to have the Orioles and Rays fighting it out with apparently the Mariners and the Rangers and the Astros for those wild card positions. And that's how I look at it like that.
There we go.
I'm
not going to disagree with you. I do think the Yankees are going to be very good. I disagree with MLB, the Baseball Reference website. I think they have every reason to be good this year. They have the pitching as long as Rodon and all those guys can stay healthy. I look for a very, very fun year in that AL East, the second toughest division in all of baseball, ladies and gentlemen.
You're full of shit. But anyway, we'll talk about that on another day. Maybe we'll throw a TikTok video on that, and we'll discuss that for a few minutes. But that was it. That's our MLB special. We're super pumped for, the 28th. Let's go Mets and Yankees. More so the Yankees, best division in baseball. Thank you, folks. And you know what? Enjoy MLB opening day on Thursday, guys.
I'll be there on Saturday at Citi Field. Uncle Stevie, if you're watching, we'll do the show live from Citi Field.
Yep. Saturday or Sunday for that matter. Even though it's Easter, if you get us good tickets, we'll do it. Anyway, folks, enjoy your week. We'll see you. Hats off to you. Goodbye.